So today, I'm going to talk about Justin Townes Earle, who passed away 2 days ago at the age of 38. Anybody who knows of Justin knows that he is the son of Steve Earle, the sort of country Nashville rebel. I am a big fan of both. I've seen both live a number of times. I related much more to Justin Townes Earle's music. He spoke very, very honestly about his struggles, his childhood, his relationship, or lack thereof, with his father. I think they sort of had an on and off relationship. He has one of the most beautiful songs ever, sort of about family, called Mama's Eyes. There's been a lot of musicians sort of dear to a lot of us that we've lost in the last few years. Justin Townes Earle at the young age of 38. David Berman last year, who was 52. And obviously John Prine, who we lost to COVID earlier this year. And it's been there's a lot going on for a lot of people on so many levels. I live in California, and in addition to sort of ups and downs around this virus, the economy, we're also right in the middle of some horrific fires. We have an election coming up that is going to be a messy few months leading up to that. I personally think, maybe this is short-sighted, but that November 3rd of 2020 is probably the most important day in my life as an American. I can't imagine every 4 years, every 2 years, I say it's the most important elections ever. This is a different bag, a very different bag. And I'm hopeful that we will come out of this on the right side. So, yeah, Justin Townes Earle's death just has me thinking about a lot of things. About there are some I've watched hours and hours of videos of him on YouTube the last few days. I found a wonderful one. It's about a 2-minute clip where he's talking about addiction and how people respond to addiction. He's doing it in a crowd. He gets a little bit tense with a few people who are making some remarks from the audience, but it's clear that he feels that he needs to get this point across, and it's really, really powerful. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to the effect of, anybody with a drug problem or drinks too much, or I think he even said, or cuts themselves, we shouldn't ask what's wrong with you. We should ask, what is it that's causing this, right? What pain underlies what's happening to this person? It's really, really, Justin Townes Earle talked a lot about that kind of stuff, and he was he was an imperfect man, but he, at least according to him, had a very, very tough childhood on many, many fronts. And as he said, a lot of this does not have to do with his father. It has to do with other things. So I'll just say I'm saddened that we lost another person who was able to turn pain and grief and suffering into beautiful music that has helped, I am sure, many, many, many people relate to things in their lives. It's why we listen to music, most of us. I think it was Joe Pernice of the Pernice Brothers who said, if not for music, he probably wouldn't be around. And a lot of people understand that sentiment. Music helps us to relate. It helps us to understand. It gives us comfort. It gives us joy. It gives us peace of mind. It can be family. So I'm just going to show a few records here that remind me of Justin Townes Earle and sort of maybe a short story associated with them. So he will be missed, and I will miss hearing new music from him. But fortunately, we have a pretty large catalog of music that he's made that he left us. So first record here is the V-Roys. V-Roys were a band out of Knoxville, Tennessee, signed to E Squared by Steve Earle. When Steve Earle and I think it was Ray Kennedy ran E Squared Records. Yep, right here, produced by Steve Earle and Ray Kennedy. So the V-Roys were led by Scott Miller, who still makes records, lives in Virginia. I raised this one because I saw the V-Roys live once. I believe it was 1998, excuse me. It was at the Wetlands in New York City, which was sort of a hippie club. I don't think it's there anymore. The V-Roys were opening for a band called God Street Wine, who I knew in college. They were in that sort of jam band scene, but I was there to see the V-Roys. I had heard this record. It's sort of Replacements-esque power pop, just beautiful rock and roll. And I was in the crowd. I stayed just, as I mentioned, the V-Roys opened. I stayed just for them. The V-Roys took the stage in suits. That was their sort of look. And during the show, I turned to my left and Steve Earle was standing next to me. And I'm almost positive that it was Justin Townes Earle that was with him. It was a young kid. So this was 98, which would have put Justin at about 15 or 16. I remember him being a tall kid, and I may have this wrong, so if anybody sees this and it's in that camp and says that's not who it was, I apologize, but my memory says that it was Steve and Justin Townes Earle. And they were there, one, because, as I mentioned, Steve signed the V-Roys, and two, because I believe they were on Conan O'Brien that night, the V-Roys with Steve Earle, doing Johnny Too Bad, the song Johnny Too Bad, which they ended up putting out, I think, on an EP. I always thought about that story whenever I listened to Justin Townes Earle, that I think I saw him when he was a kid with his dad at a show. So next one, I mean, when you think of the Earle family, you just think of Townes. His middle name is Townes, or was Townes. I have almost every Townes Van Zandt record. I think I have every Townes Van Zandt record, reissues plus a lot of originals. This is live at the Old Quarter, one of the best live records ever made. Just a spectacular record put out in 2009 by Fat Possum. And of course, Townes Van Zandt was very good friends with Steve Earle. And as I mentioned, as everybody knows, Justin Townes Earle was named after Townes. Townes also left us at a young age. He died in 1999, I think. He's around 50, 52. I love Townes, and whenever I think of him, or whenever I listen to him, I think of Justin Townes Earle and vice versa. Next one's kind of random. It's based on an interview I recently saw with Justin Townes Earle. As I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of videos of him the last few days. And this is Nirvana Unplugged, which he references a few times because he learned about, I think, Lead Belly from this record, a cover that Nirvana did of a Lead Belly song. And then he goes deep in one of his interviews talking about Kurt Cobain and sort of what Kurt Cobain listened to, and just sounded like a cool sort of lineage. to Kurt, another one that we lost at a very young age. And then next, I'm just going to show you the Justin Townes Earle records that I have. I have this one, which was, I believe, a record store day release, live at Grimey's in Nashville. This is a wonderful, wonderful collection. Hearing JTE live. His best record, in my opinion, Harlem River Blues. This is top to bottom a 5-star album. And Jason Isbell plays on this. It's another sort of side storyline worth pointing out. I know he was close to Jason Isbell, at least back in the early 2010s or late 2000s. I saw Justin Townes Earle at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass in 2011, and Jason Isbell was his guitar player, and Steve Earle actually came on stage and played with him as well. I have a lot of photos from that day, a couple that I've posted on various social networking sites. But I also saw Justin Townes Earle play at the Independent in San Francisco, and I'm almost positive that Jason Isbell in the 400 unit opened, which, given Jason Isbell's popularity right now, that's pretty amazing. But that was a great show. It was right around the time of Hardly Strictly Bluegrass in 2011. And then finally, this one, Midnight at the Movies. Another great, I think those are his 2 best records, Harlem River Blues and Midnight at the Movies. I picked this up 3 weeks ago on my road trip back from visiting family in Maryland. I stopped at one record store on the trips back and forth because I wanted only to go to a record store where I could trust that there would be abiding by proper protocols. And it was a gentleman that I knew from a music list server that I was on many years ago named Rich Wagner, who owns a record store called Rediscover Records in Elgin, Illinois. It's about an hour outside of Chicago. I stopped in there, kept our distance, put our masks on. I bought a couple records, and this was one. I think it was $19. Bought it brand new, right before, just a few weeks before Justin would die. So I don't know. I was just flipping through the bins and I saw this and I said, I don't have that. And I love that record, so I picked it up. So I'm glad that I did. And I hadn't opened it yet, and I opened it when I heard the news. I will just, I know this is a little bit of a sad video, but it's a sad story. We don't know what happened to Justin, and I'm not gonna pretend to have any idea, but all I can say is, tell the ones you love them, and even if you can't see them in person. And this is a really tough time for everyone. As I've mentioned before, I am dedicating a lot of my life to mental health advocacy, and I will continue to do that, and I will continue to do it more. And now has never been a more important time for that topic. I heard somebody recently say that the 2020s will be the mental health decade, and we are obviously dealing with and combating a lot of social issues. There's another shooting in Wisconsin, which speechless. But I do think mental health is an area where we should focus a lot of our efforts. We should treat it the same way that we treat physical illnesses. There should be no stigma whatsoever associated with mental health. If you are depressed, or you are anxious, or you have OCD, or you are bipolar, or you are any of the many, many and varying, depending on who you are, everyone sort of struggles with it differently and responds to it differently. They should be treated in the same exact regard as if you had a physical illness. And there is probably nothing in my life that I feel more passionately about than that. So sorry for jumping on a high horse of sorts there, but it's too important for anyone to be quiet anymore about this. I have had so many people reach out to me during this pandemic who are struggling with mental health, many of whom say that they never have before. And we need to get better at this. We must. And we will. That is all I have for today. Justin Townes Earle, 38 years old, you will be missed. You made music that helped me get through life, and as I shared, I think in a tweet or something, you gave me comfort when I was struggling, and you lifted my spirits to the sky when I was feeling good. So thank you for your music, and may you rest in peace.